to give a little context on my talk today, I want to give a little background on myself. I'm a retired Air Force civil engineer, and in the civil engineering community, we design, construct, operate, and maintain facilities and the infrastructure on the military installations. And within the Department of Defense, we have about 500 major installations, 300,000 or so buildings, 300,000 or so linear structures like airfield lighting and piers, pipeline, rail. So we have, each military installation is basically a small city. And so all the control systems on those installations now are part of the cybersecurity problem. How many folks remember in 2009 when Stuxnet and then shortly thereafter Dooku and Flame, all of a sudden malware that was designed to attack control systems became a new way of waging war. So our adversaries now are looking at how do they penetrate into the DoD network. Well, the weak link right now are control systems. And so when I first went back to work for the Department of Defense, I worked for 3 offices. The Energy Office, the Cyber Physical Advisor's Office, and the Environmental Securities Technology Accreditation Program. The 3 offices do cyber physical, and energy is where we do the strategy, the policy, the guidance, templates. And so we started on the energy side, which in the DoD, that is about a $4 billion expense for facilities energy, of which the 2 primary causes or users are HVAC systems and lighting systems. So we have a tremendous opportunity as this advent of smart cities, smart buildings, smart cars, going to the cloud, new technologies like LED lighting that reduces our energy consumption by 40 to 50%. So huge savings possible by taking advantage of cloud services. And let's see here. On the energy and cyber physical advisor side of the house, we began looking at how we would now cyber secure our control systems. And so we did 3 key things. The first is we worked with the DoD CIO. The DoD adopted the NIST risk management framework in its entirety, which was great because now we could be in alignment with the rest of the federal agencies as well as the private sector. We also developed then what we call unified facility criteria for cyber securing facility-related control systems. That is what our designers, architect engineers use now to design cyber in from the beginning. We also completed and developed facility guide specifications, which is what our construction system integrators use to now build cyber secure. So on the policy side, it took us about 10 years to go and develop all that policy and the guidance, and that is now in place, then implemented in 2018. We now have construction contractors building against these new standards. On the environmental security technologies side of the house is where we do our research and development and take all that guidance and policies and templates and test it in the real-world environment on a DoD installation so that indeed our commercial contractors, our vendors can build cyber secure the way that we think we should be able to do it. We heard earlier this morning that several folks have been talking about the traditional IT security, data centers, modernization, all the cloud type activities. And then we also heard CISA folks and others talk about critical infrastructure and operational technologies. The operational technology side of the house, again, is where these control systems, or what we call the facility-related control systems, fall in. And what's happened in these last 5 years or so, the traditional cloud computing model that we see here has been expanded. So now we have new offerings. Lighting as a service, meaning I've got now an LED technology that can be implemented in a cloud data analytics application. I can reduce my energy costs 40 to 50%. We now have energy as a service model. Again, now instead of buying your energy from the utility company and having to manage your entire transmission production line, you just buy energy as a service. So again, cloud computing now is fundamentally changing a lot of the old ways of doing business. So again, here's those infrastructure, platform, and software as a service, some examples that you see here, and FedHive that I've highlighted here we'll talk about in a little bit more detail. The CIO, in addition to adopting the risk management framework, followed the CIO policy to create a cloud strategy. The DoD's cloud strategy was published, and then shortly thereafter, we were working with the Defense Information Security Agency to develop the first cloud computing security resource guide. So this is the document that says FedRAMP cloud service providers, in addition to the normal risk management framework, security controls that you're going to put in place for your data center, we want you to add these additional security controls that are specific to the DoD's requirements to ensure that that DoD data is protected. And that began the migration in earnest for migrating not just the IT systems and collapsing the data centers within the Department of Defense, but now we had to go take all those traditional facility-related control systems, which most of the time, those were a single server stuffed underneath the facilities engineer's desk that were unpatched, unmanaged, and even today, about 60% to 70% of the existing control system servers in the Department of Defense run Windows XP, and they are unmanaged, unpatched. That is, again, what we're doing now is migrating those servers and all those applications into FedRAMP certified data centers. The DISA SRG has what are called the impact level that you see here, 4 and 5. And this goes back to an executive order that required the federal government to standardize how they classify data. And if you remember, that executive order basically then established the rules for protecting and safeguarding what's called controlled unclassified information, CUI. In the case of the Department of Defense, that would be typically for official use only, confidential type information. It does not capture secret or top secret type information. And level 4 is what we typically would associate with for official use only type information. And that has then these additional requirements for how it can be transmitted across the networks, and then what specific controls have to be applied from the risk management framework standard. At the same time that we were working on this is about the time that we started to see the massive data hacks and data breaches. How many folks have checked your own email on have I been pwned? Anybody tried that? So I'm at 13, so if you can beat that. So the issue here became now, we realized, kind of going back to the Target hack, that a third-party vendor now has in their corporate IT systems data that now could potentially put the entire DoD network at risk. So think in terms of an architect engineer firm that now has blueprints, drawings, specifications, technical user manuals, the entire IP network address points. So now we have to treat all of our DoD contractors and vendors as potential points of entry. So that was a new contract clause that became implemented in January 2018 that requires all DoD contractors to now meet this DoD level 4 CUI protection. So now, again, you've got to get your corporate IT systems secured up to this level and use data centers that now meet this level. For FedHive, we took it that next step. We decided that we would build this data center and the capability for cloud offerings at level 5. And that was a pretty big challenge. Again, the DoD has very strict requirements that you see in the SRG. And here is how DISA now has created their master architecture for us to now implement the new master architecture. It's called the Joint Information Environment. It now is a very tightly controlled. We have what's called an installation processing node that all the carrier circuits come into. They then distribute out to the internet, and then we can connect out to our FedRAMP data centers. Notice that this is even hiring AWS, Amazon, Google, Microsoft to come in and manage the this data centers. We're focused over here, again, on our off-premise level 4 and 5 approved vendors. And the ones that you see there, it's only a handful. FedHive is the first small business to actually now make it into that small community. And we are not just at DoD level, but we are also GSA high impact. This is the first company that has, I believe, now made it to where we are both GSA high baseline impact as well as DoD moderate. So from the perspective of you now being able to move your data out of your corporate traditional standalone IT systems or workstations into a secure cloud computing environment that meets these requirements, this is the first time that we see that capability. Now, we talked a lot about today the skills and training needed. What's happened in this control system / corporate IT systems world, we've basically converged and become hybrid systems. There's not a control system out there now that is not, does not have an IP-based front end, web browser front end. So getting our talent now trained up to understand how to operate in these converged environments. So there's some, we heard some training opportunities. SANS is a great organization that has both IT and OT training, free resources available. There's another federal virtual technology training center at FedFTV. Great tools, great resources. And then also within SANS for the ladies, they've started a program called the SANS Women's Academy. Free training, and you can get your certifications. So again, please check those out. And with that, I see my time is up. We look forward to seeing you outside and take any questions there.